Doctor Strange faces off against new threats in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But among his coterie of villains that he's already faced in both the comics and possibly the cinematic universe, has he always come out victorious? Welcome back, Nerd Squad. I'm your host, Amanda McKnight. To hear me get more nerd speak, check me out on Twitter at VampX13, and for today, I will answer this question in the form of a video as we count down the top 10 villains who have defeated Doctor Strange. I know, can you believe it? You're about to, because I'm going to tell you all about it. Number 10. Nightmare. Nightmare is one of Doctor Strange's most iconic villains. In fact, he was the first appearing alongside Doctor Strange in his first appearance. He has done quite a few things to threaten the Earth, even while Strange has reigned as Sorcerer Supreme. But aside from that, he's also at one point succeeded in pushing Strange to his limits. During Last Defenders issue number 3, Strange returns to Greenwich Village in New York City to defend it against a stampede from Nightmare's dream realm. Unfortunately, at this point, he's too weak and exhausted to successfully defend against the stampede. Fortunately though, Damon Hellstrom arrives on the scene to lend a hand. But if it weren't for Hellstrom, Strange would surely have been trodden into some pretty dead meat by those dream horses. Woo! Number 9. Baron Mordo. Baron Mordo is another famous villain of Dr. Stephen Strange. While generally Strange is the one who comes out on top, Mordo had actually been plaguing Stephen well before he was ever Sorcerer Supreme, and even before he knew about the existence of Mordo or the Ancient One. Back when Mordo was the Ancient One's disciple, information was actually shared with him of how Stephen Strange was predicted to become the Ancient One's successor as Sorcerer Supreme. Pretty jealous, Mordo began to plague the then child Stephen Strange with nightmares, creating and utilizing a psychic construct. Eventually, the Ancient One discovered this and ended Mordo's schemes, but Stephen would continue to be plagued by nightmares throughout his life due to the psychic construct within his mind. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you are loving this channel and you want to show us some love somewhere else, head on over to Facebook, click that follow, click that like, help us on out. Number 8. MCU Kaecilius. Technically, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Kaecilius won the day. He ultimately lost the war though, as his plan didn't go quite as he'd hoped. But he was successful in opening up a gateway to the Dark Dimension, with which Dormammu could basically use to enter Earth, and our dimension here. Good old Earth 99999999. How many nines is in it? I forget. That reality. At least this is what Kaecilius tried to do. In the end, Dormammu was stopped by Doctor Strange, who used his Eye of Agamotto to create a time loop that Dormammu would be forever trapped in until or unless he gave up and decided to leave Earth alone, which did end up happening after countless deaths of Doctor Strange, which also possibly created an infinite number of alternate paths across the multiverse and realities where Strange may actually be dead and where Dormammu was victorious. Who knows? While Strange beat Dormammu and ultimately Kaecilius in the end, he was unable to stop the villain from succeeding in his mission to summon Dormammu to Earth. And a win, even if it isn't the final word, is still a win. And in Kaecilius' case, he should have been more careful for what he wished for, because he also kind of got what he wanted, which was to live forever, but in pain in the Dark Dimension, so not so great. Not ideal. Number 7. Loki. Loki has managed to pull the wool over Stephen's eyes on more than one occasion. At one point during one of their very first encounters, he managed to trick Strange into thinking that Loki's brother Thor was evil, causing Strange to basically confiscate Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. However, Strange soon realized the deception and as such helped Thor instead to defeat his tricksy brother Loki. More recently in the comics, Doctor Strange ended up duped by Loki when the trickster god believed he would be more well suited to the role of Sorcerer Supreme, and managed to basically trick Strange out of the role using extremely realistic illusions and deceptive ploys. Stephen spent a good amount of time when he was no longer Sorcerer Supreme working as veterinarian, which is how he met Bats, who would later become his ghostly doggo companion. Number 6. Kaecilius. But this time from the comics. Kaecilius, I would say, is one of Strange's greatest villains. Despite just being the protege or disciple of Baron Mordo in the comics, he still managed to defeat Doctor Strange in the ultimate way by killing him. Although it seems that Strange wasn't completely caught unawares, as he had a plan in place should this happen, which allowed him to solve the mystery of his own death. And although Kaecilius may have killed Strange, Doctor Strange ended up coming out on top despite the defeat, as his older self managed to avenge his death, dealing Kaecilius a worser fate. His older self, his younger self that's from the past, it's like older but younger. It's confusing. Kaecilius in essence wasn't just killed here, by the way. He was seemingly erased when older, or past Doctor Strange, solving the mystery, decided to use Kaecilius to bring back his main continuity self, temporarily at least, casting a healing spell which basically transformed Kaecilius into Strange, in essence resurrecting the version of him that Kaecilius had killed. But that's not very good for him, because then he's like, now I'm the person I killed that I hated the most. Shucks. Number 5. Dormammu. Although these two have fought on multiple occasions, with Doctor Strange managing to best or beat Dormammu, especially if he is on Earth and outside of the Dark Dimension, where he is the most powerful, when they first fought, Dormammu was in the Dark Dimension, and Strange was just kinda starting out as well, so he wasn't at max power. He was sent to the Dark Dimension to battle Dormammu in order to save the world by the Ancient One, who was basically too weak to do battle with Dormammu at the time. Stephen went taking his place, but also proved to be not really strong enough to defeat Dormammu. Instead, Stephen found a way around that battle, similar to his approach in the MCU. However, instead of trapping Dormammu in a time loop, Stephen at this point actually didn't even have the Eye of Agamotto, I don't believe, in the comics. He decided to help him out in order to beat him. You see, Dormammu had to expend energy to maintain a barrier in the Dark Dimension which kept out the mindless ones, and during their battle the distraction of the fight had caused him to drop that barrier. With the mindless ones on the loose, Stephen offered to help restore the barrier and keep the mindless ones out, and Dormammu begrudgingly promised that he would give up his attempt to invade Earth as a result. At least this time. Number 4. Enchantress. Oddly enough, despite both being very much tied to the world of magic over at Marvel Comics, Doctor Strange has not really had many battles against Enchantress. However, during the Acts of Vengeance crossover event, the two did end up getting matched up for a battle in his series, Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme. In issue number 12, we see these two face off, and Enchantress, along with Executioner, proved to be too much for Strange to handle. First of all, he is successfully seduced into attending a meeting with Amora the Enchantress in the evening, not even seemingly recognizing her as the Enchantress previous to her reveal, and even though people are basically like, don't go there, he does it anyways. Then they begin to battle, and Enchantress and Executioner's Asgardian heritage makes them seemingly too much for Strange to handle. Fortunately, Clea shows up just in time to basically save his magic butt. Number 3. Ultimate Dormammu. Ultimate Dormammu pretty much has the ultimate victory against Doctor Strange on Earth 1610, the Ultimate Universe. He manages to kill Doctor Strange straight up, strangling him with his sash until his head in essence pops off. However, it should also be noted that this Doctor Strange is not the exact counterpart to Earth 616's Doctor Strange. This is actually Stephen Strange Jr., Strange's son, his son with Clea no less. In the Ultimate Universe, Doctor Strange Sr. disappeared many years ago, vanishing without a trace, and no one knows what happened to him. Although Strange Jr. was raised normally on Earth without magic by his mother Clea, he eventually found his way back to it and would go on to become the new Sorcerer Supreme, following in both his father and his mother's more magical footsteps. Unfortunately too, because then he dies as a result of that. Whoops. Number 2. The Undying Ones. The Undying Ones are extremely strong and powerful demonic beings who serve the Nameless One, seemingly inspired by monsters of Lovecraftian design. While Stephen has fought against them before and succeeded, initially when dealing with them, even despite besting them, they would end up costing him something. Either killing those he sought to protect, or just managing to succeed in whatever other devious mission they were up to, just as Doctor Strange arrived to stop them. Because of their ability to be a step ahead, at one point Doctor Strange even gets trapped in their dimension, sacrificing himself in order to close off a portal to Earth. Staying behind, Strange would spend some time imprisoned in their dimension until such a time as the Hulk arrived there, stumbled upon him, and then the two were able to fight their way out due to the sacrifice of someone else staying behind. Strange became imprisoned in Submariner issue number 22 from the 1968 series. If you don't recognize Stephen here, this is because it was back in the day when he used to wear a mask in an attempt to hide his identity from his enemies. Yeah, that was a whole thing, and at one point to maintain that identity, he actually had his name like magically changed to Stephen Saunders. It's a whole It's the whole time. Number 1. Strange Supreme. Strange Supreme is the dark alternate version of Strange from the alternate MCU reality, appearing in the What If episode What If Doctor Strange Lost His Heart Instead of His Hands. The result apparently would be that Doctor Strange would become obsessed with getting enough powers that he could bring back his love Christine Palmer and somehow avoid her death. Unfortunately, in bringing Christine back, he also caused the destruction of his universe, as her death was considered an absolute point in time, not something that you can basically mess with. In order to even bring Christine back, Strange would have to face off against himself, who was the final defense against what the darker Strange was basically attempting to do here. Strange Supreme defeated himself in the end, absorbing him and resurrecting Christine, which brought about the end of the universe. But hey, he won the fight. Who are your favorite Doctor Strange villains? Which do you think are the most powerful? What have been your favorite moments of both victory and defeat when it comes to Doctor Strange stories? Let us know your thoughts and your feels in the comments below. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, you stay nerdy, YouTube.